Welcome back to the Titanium Hangar. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well today. Today I want to talk to you about X-Transbot'S and what all they got on their plate. And I gotta say that we've got some updates with some pictures and pricing and a few other things going on with X-Transbot'S. They've got some of those exciting characters that are getting released, some stuff that we've never seen in Masterpiece form before, and in fact seen very little of some of these characters made in the mainline. But we're going to get into talking about these, what's on their plate, what pricing, and sort of maybe a ballpark estimate of when they'll come out, coming up. Alright, so I do feel like I'm about a day behind, but I'm getting back into the swing of things here. Probably only half a day behind now. So this is their Fioravante. This is Overdrive, and Overdrive is an Omnibot, and by the way, my favorite Omnibot. So here's a picture of what all he comes with. He's gonna come with 3 different guns, and I think that's how the original one was. And he's gonna come with a ton of blast effects. He's got some double blast effects and some singles. So really cool because it's a double barrel gun there, so double barrel blast effect. And so really nothing outrageous when it comes to the accessories, unless there's something else that they're just not picturing. But so it is a pretty cool figure, pretty cool release, and it is $98 on Show Z. So what I've found is that yeah, it's a pretty good price, $98. So it's maybe it's $100 minus the deposit, but anyway, around $100 for this guy, and he is going to be made of die cast and paint and all that great stuff. So he's going to look really good. But let's get a look at a few more pictures in other modes. Here showing a little bit of articulation, and so evidently he's going to have some articulation in the abs there. Always nice, and people always get upset about it if you don't. And so here he is in sort of the Iron Man pose or the superhero pose, and he can do that, kind of showing the articulation, and that's become very standard these days. But let's take a look at this alt mode of his, which really looks cool. So that is a nice looking Ferrari-ish type of vehicle, and looks nice. Now, I did use this as my side swipe filler as a kid because didn't have a side swipe, but yeah, Ferrari's not a Lamborghini, but they're still exotic and they look awesome. And here it is in the flight pose. So yes, it's gonna have the wings and all that, and then it looks like you're gonna be able to plug in some weapons and the blast effects to a point, so I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work. Of course, I'm going to have to figure that out when it comes in, but I'm excited for this. I am looking forward to this. This is one of those, because I had the toy when I was a kid, and I did mail away for it, so that was a whole lot of fun. And this is going to be a quick little comparison of the toy to the figure, and I have to say, if you look at the toy, it was a pretty nice looking figure. And as a kid, I really looked at them and thought the figures that looked the coolest were my favorites. Yes, the cartoon was a big influence. These weren't in the cartoon, but it was a real cool looking figure. And yes, I called it my side swipe, but I also knew it was a side swipe, and I knew it was kind of cool. Now, Fioravante, the first one, the standard one, that's about $100, is coming out in July. Sometime around in July. Then there's a few repaints that are coming. This is the T version, and so this is the Thompson Racer limited version. This is 110, and so it's going to be painted a little bit different. And I do want to say that X-Transbot'S will make these one-offs, but they won't remake them. So it's something they'll do once, and that's it. As for the standard one, that's the one that's in the highest demand, so that one will probably get made. There's a reissue of that one probably down the road, maybe, but these will not get remade and down the road. So if you want to get in on that, then you definitely want to pre-order them and make sure you get them. This one's 110 also for the diamond version, and so it's yellow. So it's a yellow Fioravante, and that's what X-Transbot'S says. I don't know when these other ones are coming out, but I always feel like once they make a run of something and then these recolors come shortly after that, they kind of piggyback the productions. But some of the release schedule doesn't feel like they're going to do that exactly this go around. But he's got lots of plans for these figures, but this is the diamond version, and very similar to the diamond version is something called the racer version. Okay, this one here is the racer version, so it's still yellow, but it's yellow racer, so still different versions of the Fioravante, Omnibot, a lot of fun, Overdrive. So the next one on the list here that should be coming maybe in September is Bond and James, which is their Punch Counter Punch. I'm the most excited for, and I think there's going to be the US release is coming first, and then the following month we should get the Japanese version. So I have both pre-ordered, and I actually was thinking they'd probably show up at the exact same time, but I was wanting to do one review with both in it, and so I'll probably get it and sit on it and do that, and that's kind of how I think things are going to go. Now, we didn't get updated images from that, so we still just have renders, but I do want to do a sort of G1-esque type of comparison to it, and so here we go with it next to the G1, and this is, of course, a massive improvement over the G1, and I've got a funny story, but there was one at my workplace for a long time, and no one knew whose it was. It was just floating around, and it was interesting, but this is very cool, very fun release. Probably my most anticipated of X-Transbot'S releases, because it is going to serve as two figures, which is why I think it's going to be a lot of fun to get two of these, so you can have one on each shelf, one on your Autobot shelf, one on your Decepticon shelf, and it's just really going to look good, especially with that premium paint that X-Transbot'S is using these days, really trying to keep up with fans' toys and all of that, but this is going to be a fun release. Real quick, here's the alt mode, and I recently had out my G1, and the more I look at it, the more I see a Fiero in it. I did not see a Fiero in it for all these years until X-Transbot started putting out their pictures, and yeah, I see it now. I see it now. It seems like the G1 version feels like a little bit longer than a Fiero, but now that you look at it, you see it. You kind of see that rear quarter panel look to it. Okay, so anyhow, that's how it looks. That's how it stacks up. Okay, so next up we have the MX-31 Paragon First Aid, and it's supposed to come with the First Aid device. So I'm thinking that that's going to be some armature for it to connect as the arm with the First Aid device, and that's what people were talking about. But it's kind of a medical bed looking thing, and it's $130, so it's $130 for this guy, and this nice looking figure. When it comes to these figures associated with their Defensor, the transformations seem to be a little overly complex, but I don't know. I'm gonna hope this one's a little bit better, because it transforms different into like a box, so maybe that's gonna be better, the ambulance box. But it's a nice looking figure overall, and so here's how he looks with the rest of them. Well, okay, just some other figures, I guess, but that's it's gonna fit in really well. It's actually, he's a big one. He's a pretty good size guy, bigger than Fuzz, and so to get like whatever extra accessories that you're gonna need to go along with it, that's that medical bed thing, which I still don't really understand 100%, but that's $130. I guess it's justifiable, and all the other limbs so far have been $100, so this one $130. So still, I think definitely worth the value for that size of figure. He's as big as Ironhide. Here's the alt mode, and it looks pretty decent. It does look like quite a few panels there that's got to get formed, so curious how that happens and how it goes about it. But then I also get curious, how would they make an Ironhide? Would X-Transbot'S do a really good Ironhide? Possibly. Here's the alt mode compared to Trax, and so that's about how big he is. If you've got a Trax, you know how big he is. Well, about how long he is, tall he is. Here's the medical bed thingy that's going on right there. So, yeah, definitely some combining parts to it for whatever part that it combines to. Be interesting to see when it arrives what's going on with it. And X-Transbot'S is going to give you a hand and an arm. So there it is. So pretty cool looking overall, interesting figure, and it's due out sometime by the end of the year, but October hopefully. Okay, so this is the next one, Fast or Runamuck. Now, I always get Runamuck and Runabout mixed up, so I don't really know. I mean, every single time I gotta look it up. So I believe the white one is Fast Runamuck. Runamuck. So pretty cool looking. And you know, these are really obscure. Even if you look at the vintage G1, they are pretty obscure from that era. They were later in the line, and they weren't very good figures. They were terrible figures, but they were figures. So here's next to a G1 Run Amok, and that's a massive improvement. So these literally were just pop-up cars. You pull back and they go and then pop up. Very, very terrible toys. Fun as in kind of an auto-transforming, auto-morphing, auto-converting figure, but terrible as a toy for an action figure in an action figure line. If you were just a gimmick, this is something you'd expect to see for like $1 in the McDonald's meals or a Wendy's pop-up toy or something. That's what that would be for, not a mainline toy release. I don't know what they were thinking with it, but I think I've got one around here somewhere. So I think that this is definitely the best version of the character ever made. Here's the alt mode, and in comparison to the G1 alt mode, I don't know how you can really figure out what the G1 is supposed to be, but there it is. And so is it really a Firebird, Trans Am, something along those lines? That's pretty cool. Pretty interesting. Obviously, the X-Transbot'S wants to look way better than G1 and be a much better figure overall. The G1 was so terrible. You really can't go wrong. But anyway, there he is. This is Fast. Let's go ahead and look at Fury. Fast should be coming hopefully in November. So Fury or Runabout should be coming in December. And this is one, you know, I guess I'd say I never had these as a kid, and I picked them up as an adult in lots. I personally feel like I didn't pay anything for them because they were just in lots that I was buying, and I was trying to get other figures. So to me, they were free, but I guess you could say I paid like $5 each for them or something along those lines. But they weren't great figures, and so I have no tie to them. But I still think it's cool to get them, sort of like Omnibots. So I'm just putting these in the Omnibot slot because the Omnibots are awesome. But anyhow, this is what it looks like. Got to be a cool figure. They're all going to be a cool figure, and they all kind of sort of follow same basic structure type of figure, but transformation is probably going to be all wildly different. Here's the alt mode, and someone in my comments pointed out this is a Lotus Esprit. I believe Lotus, might not even be an Esprit, but Lotus, and they say that's the only time that there's been a Lotus in the Masterpiece line. So I can't remember. It was a long time ago, like right when these were announced, but it does look like a Lotus to me now that I see it, and I don't see it at all in the vintage one, in the vintage toy, but maybe that's what they were going for. But anyhow, still really, really a cool alt mode, cool figure, and that should be out in December. And I have no word on Galvatron, but other than the fact that it's looking like he's pushed to 2024, and that's fine with me as long as they do it right. I know we've been waiting a long time for this guy, but really, from the time they've resurrected the project, it's been about a year now. So, or close to a year, right around a year, something along those lines. And so I would have expected to see a little more progress on it, but I felt like the original designs they had needed a lot of updating because it was outdated. It was an outdated mold, and they're updating it to make it more modern to match what's going on now. You think about like 7 or 8 years ago versus now, a lot has changed, and for them to put out a figure that's too dated would be a bad idea. So I'm glad that they're going in the direction to make it more modernized and to match up to what's getting put out today. I quickly want to show the last couple of Omnibots because I am excited for them. And so this is the downshift, and they call it Yaguchi, and it's the MX-24, and it looks really good. I mean, you see the vintage one, and I always, as a kid, felt like a little awkward, as if I didn't have the arms transformed right. I could never feel like that was, I always felt like I did something wrong with the arms, and I don't remember any of the accessories. I either lost them right when I got them in for the mail. I just remember the figure, and it is not the greatest. It's got those legs that are connected by pins at the feet, so they don't really feel like legs. It's like a tree stump legs, but yeah, having this updated is really awesome, really exciting. I know Hasbro did a really good job on their set not too long ago, but here's this one here is definitely even better looking than the Hasbro one. Probably not as easy to switch back and transform all that. Here's the alt mode, and it looks really cool, very retro. This is like a late 70s, early 80s type of sports car. I don't remember which one. I keep wanting to say it's a Nissan. It might be a Toyota. My guess would be a Nissan 200SX, but I'm probably wrong on that one. Still, I don't know what they were going for originally, and I'm sure X-Transbot's got it right? That looks good. They're also making the MX-24R. This one is going to be the racer type limited version. Again, like the limited ones, these are 110. The other one is the standard one is right around 100, like 98. So cool looking if you're into getting these repaints and recolors. If you're one of those people that want those, go for it, because this is probably the only chance you'll get when they sell out. They sell out, and X-Transbot'S does like to do cool stuff like this. This is the other one here. It's the Diamond Limited version. So they're doing all this Diamond Limited version. It's the D version for Diamond, and pretty cool. Multiple different versions that are coming out for this guy. And the last one we're going to look at is camshaft. So no real update, no concrete update to this, but they call this Metis, and it is cool looking. And I remember as a kid having this one, and I always thought it was so strange. It's like the whole cab just kind of cuts off, and you've got the hood turning into the legs. And that, I always thought that was interesting. And as a kid, I thought that, oh, they copied this from another one that I already have. I know they did. And I couldn't find another figure that they had the same type of transformation. Like, it always seems to flip around, and you have the top being the front, or the top being the back, or something along those lines. But it didn't have it exactly like this type of transformations. Similarities in the transformation. But anyway, nice to have an updated version of this. And this one, it's really hard to get a good angle with X-Transbot'S pictures on it, but this is compared to the vintage, the G1, and definitely going to be a cool looking car. Definitely, I kind of have my own concerns and fears about this being a very challenging transformation, just by the looks of it, but still excited for it. Going to be an interesting release. So this is the MX-25, and they call this one the D, and it's for the Diamond version, so another Diamond version. Green, I call it green one, and so it's kind of a pearl lime green, something weird kind of green color, but looks pretty cool if you like those variants, of course. 110 versus the 98 or whatever. And this is MX-25RR, and this one they call it the Rainbow Racer limited version. So leave it at that, and if you're interested in this one, pick it up. Might be a hot seller, who knows. So let me know what you think about these releases. Are you picking any of them up? Are you excited for any of them? Or are you passing because they're too obscure? Because it'd be interesting to find out how many people actually go in on these. Like and subscribe. Tadira Hanger out.